Now, you may have already watched my first attempt at this press conference update earlier today, and I did mention in that video that there were a few issues with the wind around Kirkby and how incredibly strong it was. Unfortunately, that caused a few audio issues towards the end of the video, which I should have caught, but unfortunately didn't. So what I did is I decided to take that video down because I don't want low quality videos on my YouTube channel, and have another crack at giving you the team news update and all the other updates from Arne Slot's press conference from here in the comfort of my office. Now, it is still incredibly windy as I look outside, but I imagine in this environment there won't be too many issues with hearing the audio. I hope not anyway. So I'm going to have another crack at it anyway. So like I said, if you've already seen this, disregard this video. But if you're just new to it now, let's go through what Arne Slot said in his press conference ahead of the Ipswich game. Now, I'm going to start, as I usually do, with the team news and an update on Curtis Jones. Now, you remember he did limp off, didn't he, against Lille? He tried to play on with that slight issue after a player landed on him, but wasn't able to do so and came off at half-time. And we have had an update from Arne Slot today. Unfortunately, not massively positive news in the sense that Curtis Jones is going to miss the Ipswich game. But if there is an upside and some positive element to it, it doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue that keeps him out for too long. Arne Slot said, look, it's not going to be months or anything like that. And he said, we can't give a definitive timescale. He doesn't like to do that, does he? Let's be honest. But he expects him to miss Ipswich, and then just kind of said, look, we'll see how he kind of gets on in terms of the PSV Eindhoven and Bournemouth games. Now, you don't know whether quite he'll be back for those or whether in reality he'll be in contention for those, but it seems like it's not a very serious issue. So I think that's the upside, particularly as we know when players land on players, it can be a lot more serious. You think of Jota against Chelsea, you think of Konate against Real Madrid. They ended up in kind of long-term absentees, didn't they? So the good news is for Curtis Jones, it's not quite that bad, but it is going to be bad enough that he misses the Ipswich game, unfortunately. In terms of other team news updates, obviously we know that Diogo Jota is still out with that niggle he picked up against Nottingham Forest. That's turned into something a little bit bigger, so I'm not going to see him back soon. And Joe Gomez, similarly as well, he's still out with the hamstring injury that he picked up recently. Again, with both of those, Arne Slot kind of said it's going to be weeks rather than months, so hopefully we're not too far away from seeing them, but definitely not back for Ipswich, and we'll just see on a game-by-game basis how much closer they are to team training. And I will say about that, actually, that in terms of the injuries, obviously 3 injuries at the moment, which is not the dream scenario. You want a fully fit squad if you can have it, but I will say that Liverpool aren't doing too badly at the moment for injuries, are they? It was the thing that for me was the biggest aspect really Liverpool could improve this season on the last one, where that injury crisis was the main cause, in my opinion, of the reason Liverpool dropped off later in the season last time out. This time out, I think that if they can keep this kind of relatively sedate pace in terms of picking up injuries and not doing too badly in that, then I think it'd be massively helpful for them to continue challenging on forefronts, and hopefully it means they can avoid a drop-off in the latter part of the season as they did last time. Now, just one more kind of point on team news and injuries at the moment. He was asked about Ibrahima Konate and how he's getting on. He did say, remarkably on his press conference answer prior to the Lille game, in which he said he's still using painkillers, still dealing with some pain against his knee because he rushed himself back, really, which came as a little bit of a surprise. But he spoke about that and said that we're still managing his load a little bit, or we have been up to this point. That's why he didn't start the Lille game, and Jarell Quansah came in and did really well. But he said that he is at the point now, he's got back to fitness and he can play 3 games in a week. Obviously, I don't expect Liverpool are going to ask him to do that. I think the PSV game is a real opportunity for rotation. You see the Plymouth game is coming up as well. I see those as real opportunities to give someone who's as important as Konate a rest. But it is good news. He's back to full fitness now. He's looking back to full sharpness on the pitch, and it also means that if Liverpool do have a run of 3 tough fixtures, but important fixtures in a row, Konate would be able to play them. So I think that's a real boost, isn't it? Now, in terms of other selection aspects and selection headaches that Arne Slot might have going on from a game-to-game basis, I think one of the obvious ones of those is at left-back, really. Now, we've seen Kostas Tsimikas start the last 2. He's been in real direct competition with Andy Robertson for a starting spot there, and you'd have to say that neither player really has nailed down that position. And he was kind of asked about that, and how do you kind of see that competition? And the way he put in, this was a direct quote from the manager. Look, if Kostas was on a completely different level to Robbo, then it wouldn't be smart to rotate, as you could drop in quality. And then he described having two good options. Now, for me, that's kind of an interesting quote, really, because it says to me that, I don't feel that there's been a huge change in Kostas Tsimikas' output. It doesn't mean that he's reached a new kind of world-class level. I think he's the steady Eddie that he's always been for Liverpool, really. But what it does tell you is there's been a drop-off from Robertson, and I think we've all seen that with our own eyes so far this season, hasn't we? And that has turned it into direct competition at left back. For me, that is the reason that Liverpool will be going into the left back market when the summer comes around. I wouldn't be averse to them doing it in January, but that's not the expectation. And it's a clear issue in the long term that they need a world-class option at left back now, doesn't they? But in terms of how Slot sees it going forward, it's clear, like I say, direct competition between those two. It's much of a muchness, and really you'd have to say at the moment that, Tsimikas, maybe is he defending slightly better than Robertson? Does he also offer that set-piece threat that is a real problem for Liverpool in terms of attacking set pieces? Maybe that gives him the nod, and I think left-back is a really interesting selection for this game. Does he just go with Robertson because Tsimikas has started the last two? Or is it Tsimikas because he is the first choice in that left-back position? We'll have to see, and I think it's a really interesting one in terms of how that competition goes over the coming weeks and months. And when the big Champions League games come around, you're going to see who's first choice there, and will it be Kostas or will it be Robbo? We'll have to see on that one. And another team selection issue as well is he was asked about Harvey Elliott, who of course has done so well in the last two games. He's massively crucial to those two goals against Brentford, and then obviously gets one himself, the winner against Lille. And he was asked, what does he have to do now to kind of get himself in the starting 11? Is he ready to do that? And the manager's answer was he's just got to keep working hard and keep bringing performances like we've seen. He said, I always say to the players, the reason they're out the team, not necessarily something to do with anything they're doing wrong or anything they have to improve. Sometimes it's just the guy in front of you is playing incredibly well, and I'm reluctant to change that, which obviously is definitely the case with Dominic Szoboszlai. But that competition in midfield now, there's a bit of an opening there, isn't there? If Curtis Jones is going to miss 2 or 3 games, he's been the first cab off the rank whenever Szoboszlai has come off the pitch, and you think, well, there's opportunities there for Harvey Elliott to build on what he's done in recent games, and hopefully we will see a little bit more of him, because I think this has been a real breakthrough period for him, a period where he's proven to the manager what he's all about, and so I really hope that he can build on that. And I don't expect him to start against Ipswich, but you'll probably be slightly more keen to use him off the bench than he ever has. And then, is the start from PSV, can he work his way into the starting 11? We'll have to see, but I think it's been a really important week for him. And I'll just kind of wrap up with one more answer I thought was really interesting from the press conference today. He was talking about low blocks and how difficult it can be at times to kind of unpick that, and how do you go about that, because Ipswich are clearly going to come with that approach as well. And he spoke about the fact that it's all about, as much as you want to kind of overcommit players at times to try and break it down, you've got to be careful as well, because you don't want to be picked off on the break. And he said he had a phone call with his dad after the Lille game, in which his dad told him the game wasn't the most entertaining one that I've seen this season from Liverpool, to be honest. But he said, look, I've got to say to my dad, that's the kind of performance I want, where it's controlled, it's you don't give Lille a sniff on the break, and it's all about dominating in that way. He said he doesn't want to see stupid passes played or Liverpool falling into traps of giving away counters, because sides at this level can hurt you. And I thought that was a really interesting quote for me for a few reasons, really. And I think one of them was that it kind of paints the difference, doesn't it, between last season and this season in terms of what Jurgen Klopp's team were. Now, I think it's overplayed, the kind of gung-ho nature of Liverpool's football under Klopp, because that, his peak team for me, kind of between 2018 2020, as one of the most controlled teams you've ever seen. It's probably one of the best football teams of all time, quite frankly, in terms of the points they picked up and the trophies they won. But I think his last season, he really lent on his old instincts, didn't he, in terms of being an attacking manager. And I think that was one of the reasons Liverpool slipped up in the end. He just gave up too many chances because he were a little bit too gung-ho, and that cost him in the end. This kind of football is more sedate, isn't it? It's more controlled. We're definitely seeing that. And it's been massively helpful to getting Liverpool in the position they are. And also, they're doing slightly less running as well, which I think is helpful for the injury record. So all these things really coming together. And as I say, I think it's going to be important against Ipswich, because they will not want to get beat 6-0 again after losing to Man City. They're going to be in a low block. They're going to make it difficult, and they will look for every opportunity they can get on the counter as well. And they've got some pace there. So you have to be careful. So what I'm expecting and hoping for is another controlled performance. That's kind of become the calling card under Slot so far. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up there. If this is your second time watching it, what are you doing? I can't believe it. And apologies for uploading that first video with the troublesome audio on it. I'll try and make sure I watch through the videos again when I edit them to make sure that doesn't happen. Although it'd be helpful if we didn't have these conditions again tomorrow. Of course, they are not expected, so I don't believe that we're at risk of a postponement like we were with the Everton game, or hopefully not anyway. I think it's going to calm down by tomorrow, which is great news. And of course, I will be back at Anfield for my post-match review. So do, if you can give me a like, but also subscribe to make sure you don't miss that. It's really appreciated. And do let me know in the comments what you're expecting from this game, and I'll see you guys very soon.